That is not the way to go if you're going to be impressive. To me, that should be the focus of the Lakers right now based on their 1-3
I hear what you're saying. I don't think you can just pick a score and say you want to keep them under this number because it's really about points per 100 possessions.
Okay,
or
that's fair
whatever
that's
kind
fair.
of metric,
That's
whatever
fair.
kind of metric you want to use. That depends on pace of play. I would say this. When you look very carefully at what's happened recently, they beat the Grizz easy on the road. That's a good win. They beat the Heat at home. Another win. They lose to the Rockets on the road. The Rockets have been, that's during a streak where the Rockets are starting to look like the Rockets again. They were the second best, if not the best team in basketball last year when healthy. I don't see that as a bad loss. They come back and beat and blow out the Hornets, and then they lose to the Wizards, second of back-to-back, on the road. I mean, like, you can lose to a team second of back-to-back on the road. The safest bet in sports is take, the road team that's playing second of back-to-back in the NBA, they're going to lose that game.
Let me come back
I'm not overly concerned about that.
Let me come back at you with that. Number one, they gave up a triple-double plus 50 to James Harden. It's not like he just scored a triple-double. He scored 50 with a triple-double. Max, that's only been done 6 times in the last 25 quarters, in the last quarter century. 4 times he's the one that has done it to somebody. But I'm just saying that it's not that they lost to the Houston Rockets. It's how they lost. Remember when they put their hands behind their back? Because they were so frustrated by the way that the referees were calling that game. But then, you know why I hold the Washington Wizards loss against them? It wasn't just that John Wall gave it to him. He gave him 40, okay? It wasn't just that. I know it was the second game of a back-to-back, but you annihilated the Charlotte Hornets the night before. So, in other words, it wasn't like it was some tough nail-biter. I'm saying it wasn't like it was some tough nail-biter that went to the wire. You blew out the Charlotte Hornets, so you captured some rest, which made you able to play that game Sunday.
And then you just didn't show up. Then you had to get on a plane and go to the East Coast. Stop, Max. Charlotte, take it from me, who was in North Carolina, obviously went to Winston-Salem State, just an hour from Charlotte. I just finished being down in Charlotte. Max, it's less than an hour flight, bro. It's less than an hour. Nevertheless, second of back-to-back on the road. In the NBA, it's like 75% of the team.
I didn't say the loss. I said
let's look at the Rockets. I don't care that doesn't bother me so much.
Stephen A., the Cowboys can lock up the NFC East this Sunday, but here's the real question. Do they lack the mental toughness to do so?
Really? Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Really? You gonna ask me that question? Yeah. Of course they lack mental toughness. They lack anything that contributes to winning. It's who they are. It's who they are. Let's put this thing into perspective, okay? Can we just get it out the way? You got a head coach that's been there. Clearly, he got the job because he's the adopted son of Jerry Jones. It's the only excuse that Jason Garrett is still a head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Should have been going years ago. Scott Linehan should have been going years ago. Okay, but they're still there. It doesn't matter what they do. When the offense is elite, the defense stinks. When the defense is elite, the offense stinks. When both of them seems aligned, they're either mediocre or a little bit better, and the special teams messes up. Or there's something that happens with this franchise. You got guys that can't stay off the weed. You got other dudes stealing drawers and cologne from a damn department. So that's right, I'm going there. It doesn't matter. Excuse me, you asked me the question. I'm answering it. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to the Cowboys, you would think that since you haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995, that you've only had 2 to 3 playoff victories on your entire resume in damn near a quarter century, that it would elevate the urgency of the moment. You got the bull by the horn. Oh, by the way, recent history. You've got the NFC East Division crown right in your pocket. And 3 consecutive years, back-to-back years, you lost to Washington, Philadelphia, and the Giants, not necessarily in that order. Each of your divisional opponents took you out in the last game of the regular season with an NFC East Division crown on the line. And just a couple of years later, a few years later rather, because they did go 13-3 a couple of years ago, just a few years later, here you are at 8-5. You have an opportunity to wrap up the division, and you take somebody for granted. You got the nerve to walk around with your chest sticking out, acting like you did something when you ain't done a damn thing. That's the Cowboys. That is who they are. I'm so surprised.
You know, it's funny how Stephen A. always brings up, like, the Cowboys' 23, 25-year history of their ineptitude in the playoffs and those type of things. That has nothing to do with Jason Garrett. It has nothing to do with the team this year. When we're talking about the lack of mental toughness, when the Cowboys were on their 5-game winning streak and they beat the Saints, they beat Philadelphia twice, they beat the Redskins. All those those were huge games for the Dallas Cowboys during that 5-game winning streak. All of a sudden, they go on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. They laid an egg. Now everybody wants to question their mental toughness. It happens in the National Football League. I remember back in 2010 when I was with the New York Jets, we went out there against the New England Patriots and got spanked 45-3. Guess what? Came back in the playoffs, beat them in Foxborough. So listen, these type of things happen. They happen in the National Football League where you can lay an egg. The biggest thing is you got to put it behind you. But to sit here and say that the Cowboys lack mental toughness.
But that is the question, David. That will be the question.
Listen, I think the bigger question is, can Dak Prescott take this team to the next level? Now that we can question all day, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the Dallas Cowboys lack mental toughness. I'm not ready to go there.
Well, let me say this to you. It is utterly ridiculous what's coming out of your mouth right now about how Jason Garrett, the mental toughness, has nothing to do with this year's team. And the reason why I'm challenging you on this, Damian Woody, is because you played for a champion in Coach Bill Belichick, who is fixated on accountability. Jason Garrett has been the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys since midway through the 2010 season, all right? This is 8 damn years he has been in Dallas. He has one playoff victory. What do you mean it has nothing to do with him?
What does that have to do with this year's team, Stephen A? What does that have to do with this Dallas Cowboys team is different than the bad teams?
I'm answering your question.
Okay,
he's the head coach. He's the same guy that's been in there. He's the same guy that has established a culture you have religiously been on the air talking about throughout the years. That's important in the National Football League, Damian. You speak about culture. You speak about it being established by the head coach. You speak about the head coach establishing a culture that is demanding, that's about accountability. This man has not done that. And that is a fact.
Listen, Stephen A., this team, they're not even the same as last year. This is a team that's built by defense, running the football, and you sitting here and telling me that this style that right now that the Dallas Cowboys are playing, that they can't take this into the playoff and win meaningful football games. Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Jason Garrett, when we talk about mental toughness, I'm challenging your statement that it has nothing to do, it's about this year. I'm saying no. The common denominator is the Jerry Jones to the umbilical cord that is Jason Garrett to the culture that exists with the Dallas Cowboys that has been continuous, that has had continuity throughout their years of ineptitude. That's what I'm saying. How can that be denied?
I would like to ruin this segment by trying to bring a resolution to this conflict. No, Stephen A., it's almost as though people watch this show for the conflict and not for reasoned opinion. You are saying you're questioning Dallas's mental toughness. I think it's fair to question it, but that's different than denying it exists. This team has not shown that they're not mentally tough. They have shown that they don't have a great coach and they have a questionable quarterback. That's what it's going to come down to. And if they lose this week and the Eagles win, then we will get mental toughness answered the final week of the season. But I wouldn't deny that.
My question to you, Stephen A., my question to you, were you questioning this mental toughness when they beat the Saints at home? Well, I didn't hear any of this mental toughness. Did you say anything then? Or now all of a sudden they get goosed against the Indianapolis Colts. Now you want to question and go back and talk about 23 years about the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm answering your question.
Okay, go ahead.
I did question it before the Saints games. I was in no position to question it after the Saints game. That's the answer. And as for you, Max, I will close the segment by saying this. Rather than wondering why people watch this show, know why they watch the show and flow with it.
I ain't worried about nobody but myself. He then went on Twitter to defend his stance, saying, why worry about something you have zero control over and I don't care are two very different sayings and meanings. Y'all are sad, for real. God bless. It's been a horrible year for Jacksonville, but they're still 6th in total defense and 2nd against the pass. Max, let me ask you this. Do you think Ramsey's stock has dropped?
Yes, I do. And part of stock is perception. Let's face it, like, are people buying or selling? Ramsey, before the season started, was considered a charming kind of player who would give you quotes and wasn't afraid to talk and was on a great defense. Maybe this is going to be the best defense of the generation. Like, maybe it's coming because they looked so good last year. They maybe got a little lucky with the turnovers, but okay, with the interceptions. But he was like, oh, is this the best player on a great defense coming up and everything? And he's not afraid to call guys out. The problem is he talked about Odell Beckham and got torched. He talked about some guys that got burned. And by the way, as a player in the secondary, I don't care. Unless you're Deion Sanders, you're going to get burned plenty against elite guys if you're on an island with them. I get it. And sometimes when you're not, you can just come into people's TV screens in a way that looks like you got burnt when it wasn't even really, you didn't actually get burnt. I get all that. But still, the perception is he talked the talk, didn't walk the walk. The team fell apart, and now he's saying it's every man for himself. So is his stock up, steady, or down? It's down.
I completely disagree with you. I think you're totally wrong on that. Number one, he wasn't the only one that got torched by Odell Beckham Jr., particularly in that Giants game. He wasn't on Odell Beckham Jr. every single time.
Oh, not looking too bad.